Hi, welcome to my Leadership Manifesto. A manifesto is defined as a declaration of beliefs, opinions, motives, and intentions. In other words, a document that an organization or person writes that declares what they value. My leadership philosophy is to enrich the lives of others. It is no longer about what I can get, but what I can give. A term that describes this type of leadership would be that of a servant leader. Servant leadership was coined by Robert Greenleaf in 1970 during his publication, The Servant as Leader. Greenleaf described a servant leader as a servant first. I am a teacher and a coach whose academic career continues to be shaped by childhood experiences. At the age of 12, I underwent an otoplasty procedure to pin and reform cartilage in both ears. The decision to have surgery was the result of childhood bullying. I was born without cartilage in my ears, which made my ears stick out. While this time in my life was difficult, I would not trade the experience for anything. It has given me the courage to stand for students being bullied and a desire to teach on the dangers of bullying. This calling serves as the cornerstone of my work and motivates me to succeed and push students to dream big. This journey has taken me along many paths in education. Each path infiltrated with engaging students, giving them experiences they never thought possible, while making them feel safe from people who bring them down. One of my favorite mottos is by none other than Sam Houston State University. The measure of a life is its service. Every day I tell my personal and school children, go and be servants. I truly believe when you walk in the shoes of others, you begin to understand what is important. One of the best trainings that I attended was the Flippin' group. The training was called Capturing Kids' Heart. Flippin' states, if you have a child's heart, you have his head. The power of understanding someone breaks barriers to enter into a whole new level of teaching. Currently, I serve as the Instructional Technology Director and have been given many opportunities to create and implement policies on the safety of our students online. My goal is to provide students with a safe and secure environment to communicate, research, and develop skills online. As my philosophy in teaching changes, one thing remains the same. It's my passion in the preparation and the training of teachers in order to better serve students of the future. My ultimate goal is to be a servant leader and follow in the steps of Christ. As a Christian, Jesus was the ultimate servant leader. He was the King of Kings, and while everything on earth bows down to him, he came to this earth to serve. The humility, shame, and leadership shown is the ultimate guide for me in my walk as a leader. My goal is to be relational, and my coworkers understand that I truly care for them. My leadership style, according to the Leadership IQ quiz, is that of a diplomat. This test was right on. However, I would have liked to have more than two choices when taking the quiz. But as many people know me, I like to have a good time and love to meet new people. I would say that I am out to make people better and have fun while doing it. One thing that I didn't really agree with was that diplomats work to avoid having people feel uncomfortable or anxious. While that is true to an extent, during work related, I would say that I would not avoid from making them feel uncomfortable if it was going to make them better. Sometimes being uncomfortable is the best way to learn. If I was to look and map out my past, present, and future leadership, what would it look like? I would say that my leadership has been somewhat consistent over time. As a young administrator, I remember having to prove myself to teachers that I could build their trust, that I could do the job, and that I truly cared and valued their opinion. One of the character traits that I truly admire in Steve Case was his desire to learn from others and seek their opinion, especially early in his career. I still have many mentors that I look to for advice and talk to them monthly, if not daily. Today, my goal is about developing others to be their best, encouraging, praying, and cultivating relationships that can last a lifetime. I hope the future will hold what Edward Hess saw in his research over well-run organizations. Hess said, "These leaders were servants in the best sense of the word. They were people-centric, valued service to others, and believed they had a duty of stewardship. Nearly all were humble and passionate operators who were deeply involved in the details of the business. Most had long tenures in their organizations. They had not forgotten what it was like to be a line employee. They believed that every employee should be treated with respect and have the opportunity to do meaningful work. They led by example, lived the golden rule, and understood that good intentions are not enough. Behaviors count. These leaders serve the organization and its multiple stakeholders. They are servant leaders." To me, leadership is also about having a hunger for wisdom. One of the most successful companies in the world right now is Chick-fil-A. Mark Miller, who is the executive vice president, created a model called SERVE. It stands for S, see the future, E, engage and develop others, R is for reinvent continuously, V is value, results, and relationships, and E is embody the values. In leadership, everyone will hit speed bumps, but it is how you respond to those bumps that will determine your future. Mark Miller's servant leadership builds on the fact that leaders invest in the development of their people, and when you can find a successor who can carry on when your season of leadership has ended, that is the hallmark of a great leader. Last summer, I attended the Leadership Blueprint conference led by the Flip Flipping group. The idea of the 2-day training was to discover relationships are at the core of performance and that real trust and respect are essential to any organization seeking to improve. At the training, we took a personal profile to gain self-awareness in order to develop a plan for growth. The idea of the profile was to understand how we view ourselves and how others perceive us. My top 3 personal constraints were a low need for order, a high need for urgency and intensity, and I need to take more time to listen. Essentially, these were all things that I struggle with daily. Not to give an excuse, but these are all classic examples of an ADHD person, which I am. First, a low need for order can create chaos and stress people out due to the high level and openness to change. Second, being urgent and having a high intensity gives the impression of being impatient and leads to people thinking you do not care for them. Third, listening is often driven by the other two because I am impatient and I feel that I do not have time to stop and listen. So how can I change this? I plan on implementing some steps to change this behavior. First, I want to consistently ask for feedback. How can I improve or what can I do better? Second, I will write out a daily task each morning to plan out my day, asking others if they see any patterns that I need to be more focused on. Last, I will avoid distractions and take time to intently listen to at least 3 people each day. One of the greatest things I have learned from my current superintendent, who I think is a wonderful leader, is to build a network to learn from, read, especially leadership publications, whether they are books or magazines, and attend workshops or conferences. Based on his advice, I have built a library of books on leadership. As stated earlier, Tony Dungy and John Wooden are my 2 favorite. I also read several magazines on leadership, such as ASCD's Educational Leadership. It provides information on teaching and learning, new ideas and practices, and the latest trends. Another magazine I still receive is from the National Association of Secondary School Principals, called Principal Leadership. This magazine offers practical ideas on strategies used to improve schools. Of course, there is TCEA and SD, which I am a member of, that provide guidance on leadership. I also plan on joining soon the State Educational Technology Directors Association, which provides best practices and collaboration across state lines. So who inspires me? One of the methods that I live by is the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. As stated in the Defining Leadership assignment, Tony Dungy and John Wooden were people that inspire me in leadership. Both give God the glory and look to give and not take. They both give insightful fundamentals to leadership, and it is not rocket science. The key is to consistency. As long as I can be consistent, I can be an effective leader. The leadership theory that I feel that holds the most truth, I would say, is the situational leadership. And it must be a skill that all leaders must possess. I have seen many times principals get in a heated argument with someone and then go have lunch with students and act like nothing ever happened. I remember during my first year as an assistant principal, my principal said that that what happens in your office does not leave that office. The idea was to leave feelings and emotions behind and move forward. I think that this is why a situational leadership is so important. You never know what the day will bring, but you will have to make the best, and you never know who is watching. Essentially, for an instructional designer, that must be the same way. If I am designing a site or if I'm evaluating something, I need to have almost a bipolar sense or a situational leadership skill in order to work with both of them, so I don't carry over my attitudes or my emotions into each one. Essentially, the most important thing that I have learned about leadership is to have teammates that offset my weaknesses. For example, if I understand and know that my constraints of being too much in a hurry and don't spend enough time checking on and building solid relationships, then I must have a teammate that does this. It builds for an effective team when we can pick up each other's slack.